right, guys. Well, welcome back. I know it's been a while to episode... Actually, I believe this is episode 4. This is episode 4 of the Enter the Geek Matrix podcast. Back by popular demand, baby.
Huzzah.
As always, I'm your host, Matrix, and with me again, as always, is...
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
On this episode, we're going to talk about the rise of Skywalker. So I want to go ahead and forewarn anyone, spoilers ahead, okay? This is a spoiler alert right across the top, okay? If you haven't seen the film, A, I feel sorry for you, but B, definitely go out there and watch it. It's well worth it. But if you're big on spoilers and things like that, you might want to go ahead and back out of this right now, okay? Until after you see the film.
But come back and watch it later.
Definitely come back, because if there's questions, concerns, issues you had with the movie, by all means come back and check this out, because I believe we're going to touch base and answer any and everything that anyone could possibly think to ask of.
I'm down for
concerning the film. So, to get started, John, what did you think of the movie?
Dude, I'm not going to lie, and I know this isn't the popular opinion, but I honestly thought it was one of the best Star Wars movies that I've seen.
Same goes for me. I mean, just the film itself, man. I mean, it's the culmination of 8 films leading up to this one.
Yeah.
I mean, and no matter what era you were born in, you were kind of there along with some of the original films. Yeah. But going into the prequels, I was, of course, my time was the prequels, but obviously saw the original films first. So. And then kids coming up today, that they got started on The Force Awakens and things like that, and I would have hoped went back and kind of rewatched what the story really started off with. No matter what era you're from, or what films you started off with, or whether you've seen all the films or not, this one was by far, in my opinion, one of the best.
Agreed. And I mean, it's kind of a theme too, because out of all the trilogies, the third one is usually one of the better ones. Now, an argument can be made for Empire Strikes Back versus Return of the Jedi. A lot of people do favor Empire over Jedi. But almost the general consensus for the prequels is that Revenge of the Sith was the best one out of those 3. And with this one, this was the best one out of the Disney trilogy.
Absolutely. Now, don't get me wrong. I've enjoyed every Star Wars film.
Yeah.
I really have. I mean, even, and I think we've discussed this before, Jar Jar Binks in Episode 1, the most hated aspect of Episode 1, really wasn't that bad. It did add a good comedic effect to the film.
Yeah, and when that came out, kids did like Jar Jar Binks. So, I mean, he played the role that he was supposed to.
He was a very big character when it first came out, and it wasn't until later on when people kind of started hating on him.
Right.
So, now... There's a lot of concerns and things that I've seen through my research on the internet, through talking to people in Discord and things like that. And so we're going to kind of try and touch base on those things. We're going to give you our opinions and takes on it. And some of this is coming from firsthand knowledge of further research and exploration into not only the canon, but even some of the legend stuff.
Yeah.
And this is where we derive our opinions and thoughts on the film. It's a culmination of everything. It's not just based off of this particular trilogy or how this varied compared to the other trilogies. We're going to come at this as Star Wars as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing with Star Wars kind of has a dual canon now, since Disney created the Legends universe, which was the extended universe before, and now Disney is kind of restricted what canon is. So Star Wars has this dual canon that you got to kind of keep track of. Mm-hmm. But for someone like me, I grew up, I had the Star Wars encyclopedia that I read from cover to cover.
Actually, let me pause you right there.
Oh, you got it.
This is actually your Star Wars encyclopedia right here.
Man, I thought that thing was lost forever.
No, you gave this to me. For anyone who doesn't know, John here is ex-military. He's a veteran. Thank you for your service. Former.
X is when you get kicked out. Former is when you
Former. Okay. But you gave this to me one of those times we had come up to base to help you pack up before you left.
Yeah.
And you just had, there was a bunch of other stuff you gave me during those times. But this is one of the things, and I have kept this with me ever since then. I've read it.
That's
the
awesome.
Entire thing.
Yeah.
There's some stuff in here that many people might not even know about.
Oh, yeah, dude.
I mean, there's tons of different like ships and things like that in here that no one knew. I mean, the whole alphabet. You know your Y wing, your X wing, your A wing. Yeah. There's a whole alphabet of ships.
B wing.
Yeah. So this is definitely worth picking up if you can find it in your local bookstore, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble. I don't know. Just check the internet. I mean, Amazon, in this day and age, this is definitely worth picking up because there's a lot of good stuff in here.
Oh yeah. That's awesome, man. That's cool. You have that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then I read a lot of the books back in the day. I read the Han Solo trilogy, the Thrawn trilogy. I played Knights of the Old Republic. You know, I was thoroughly immersed in that expanded universe they had. And when Disney came along and retconned a lot of that and started to create this alternate canon, for those fans that were interested in what canon is, like that added more research that you had to do. You had to figure out, okay, well, what do I know about? I had to unlearn what I had learned. To quote Yoda.
Right. Well, and you know, because the Star Wars, the stuff that used to be canon, the books and things like that, I had read a few, but I had done a lot of research into some of the stuff, and you do have to kind of relearn what you thought you already knew about it. I mean, and that can be an issue for some people because I find some people have a hard time letting go of the past.
Yeah, basically
is what it boils down to. You have a hard time letting go of the past, and a lot of people don't like change.
Yeah, but you know, as a comic book fan, that happens all the time, dude. As in comic books, they retcon the entire universe and
every couple years.
Yeah,
right?
They do. Like DC had Rebirth, New 52. Marvel retcons all the time. It happens all the time, and a very like geek centric things.
Right.
So coming as a comic book fan, that doesn't bother me at all. It's just, Adam, honestly, it's kind of a challenge because it's a whole new set of lore to learn.
Well, and I also think it keeps it refreshed.
Yeah.
You don't get kind of stale and stagnant with the material, you know?
Absolutely.
So, anyways, let's get back into The Rise of Skywalker. Now, me and John both actually went together and saw the film. We saw it that Friday, the technical, I guess the release date. Now, it actually released that Thursday, you know, the late screenings.
The midnight,
yeah. But we actually went that Friday evening, and saw it. And, I believe, did we not mention that we wouldn't mind doing a podcast on this after some time, you know, to give people time to go and see the film?
Oh, absolutely. It had enough in it to warrant one.
Oh, absolutely. Unfortunately, I guess not unfortunately, because I've thoroughly enjoyed it, but these past couple episodes have been centered around everything Star Wars.
Yeah.
This has just been a hell of a year for the Star Wars universe.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's just been so much going on and coming out, and so much said and hinted at that we can't run out of things to talk about.
No, the Skywalker trilogy ended. The Mandalorian came out.
Amazing.
Jedi Fallen Order came out. Like Disney is definitely starting to try to capitalize on the Star Wars IP, which is a good thing.
Well, and that was something that this new trilogy did. It really opened up for further exploration into the Star Wars universe. Mm-hmm. Not just with films, not just with trilogy films, not just with the Skywalker saga, but with side stories. We finally got the actual confirmation there's an Obi-Wan series coming.
Kenobi.
Which,
dude, I am a huge Obi-Wan fan. Right. But obviously, my name's Obi-Jon Kenobi.
I mean, it's going to be amazing. You know it's going to be amazing. You got Ewan McGregor reprising the role that he made iconic.
Oh, yeah.
I mean...
but you got to give Alec Guinness his due. Sir Alec
Guinness. Now, and Ewan McGregor stated when he first got the role for Obi-Wan that he did a lot of studying to try his best to mimic Alec Guinness's Obi-Wan, but he really made it his own.
Oh, he did.
I mean, he just did a phenomenal job, and in my opinion, he's Obi-Wan Kenobi for sure.
Oh yeah.
So, anyways, man, The Rise of Skywalker. We both thoroughly love the film. Truth be told, and I see a lot of things online, people complaining about the film and certain things I didn't like, and the way certain things played out. Personally, as someone who considers himself to be a very big Star Wars fan, whether it's non-canon or canon, there's really not much I can say that I did not like about the film.
No, I honestly liked the entirety of the film. I've heard a lot of complaints about a lot of different things, and you know, I get it, and I get some of it, but then again, like, honestly, I thought it was well done. Mm-hmm. You know, I heard complaints about the force heal.
Yeah.
You know, all of a sudden people can force heal. Like, well, no, that's actually been part of the Legends universe. Mm-hmm. Plus, I mean, in The Mandalorian, before the film came out, there was an episode of Baby Yoda force healing.
Yep.
So it's still canon within that universe.
It's always kind of been a thing.
Yeah.
It's just it was never really explored that much in the Skywalker films,
right,
up until this point.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's always kind of been a thing.
Yeah.
So it's just again, you have those people who can't accept change. You have those people who claim themselves to be Star Wars fans, but they've really only seen the films.
Yeah.
And so they don't know a whole lot of the lore, again, whether canon or not anymore.
Absolutely.
And they don't understand that. That's like the opening scene in the Phantom Menace when Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon used the Force speed.
Oh yeah.
That's kind of always been a thing.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, I loved that.
It was badass.
It was awesome.
Yeah. So, and I mean, there's so many things I see people complain about, man. And again, there's just nothing that I can think of that I didn't like. The story itself was done phenomenally.
Oh yeah.
Now, and we've discussed pacing. It was fast paced, but through us discussing it, and I think we both agreed, there was just so much that needed to be answered and done in this film. I mean, the damn thing was 3.5 hours long.
Oh yeah, and you're tying together 8 other movies.
Right, and truth be told, I'd have been a little pissed if they would have done the 2-parter thing they've been doing with the finales of certain franchises lately.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's just, you get to that point and it's kind of like, it's worse than a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
It's like putting a fish hook in my mouth and letting me dangle just waiting. I mean, it's so much worse in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I didn't want that. I wanted this finale. I wanted this ending. I wanted this epic just conclusion.
Well, it was fast paced, but I mean, I don't mind. I enjoy a lot of fast paced movies. I never felt like they left anything out. Like right. I was reaching to try to understand something. Mm-hmm. The only thing I can think of that they really didn't address was how Palpatine survived.
Right, and that would have been something cool to know, how he actually survived that fall.
Yeah, I have read that there's some rumors that there were actually deleted scenes that kind of glossed that, and they cut them out for time's sake. And now there's this whole release the Abrams cut.
Yeah.
But
which would have been that would be awesome.
Oh yeah, like an extended cut like they did Lord of the Rings.
Well, because I've read that there was a lot of things. I think John Boyega, as a matter of fact, said that there was so much in there that they filmed, it just didn't make the cut. Yeah. Even and I cannot remember his name off the top of my head. Pippin.
Oh yeah.
He went on record and was talking in an interview and said that there was a lot of scenes that kind of gave more depth to his character, because his part he was a side character.
It was a cameo.
Yeah, it was a cameo, really.
I mean, I dug it. But I was like, why is Pippin here?
But he stated in an interview that there were a lot of scenes that he filmed for the movie, and it just did not make the cut. Mm. So an Abrams cut would be pretty cool.
People would watch it, man. I mean,
if I could buy it, get it at home, and watch what would argue, I think, at that point be a 4.5 to 5 hour movie, I'd sit down and watch it at home.
If people will watch a 5-hour version of The Return of the King, they'll watch a 5-hour version of Star Wars: Rise of Skywalker.
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned Palpatine.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on, the return and, I guess, actual fall of Palpatine?
I loved it. It was such a great thing. So, one of the main reasons why I loved it, and Palpatine being the end and being the end game, is Palpatine's character was always about playing the long game, about playing chess. And it was really cool because they even tied all that together, because you got to think about it. His first actual move as Sidious coming out in the open was Order 66.
Right.
And then and then in the film Rise of Skywalker, you find out that he was actually Snoke.
Yeah.
Snoke was a clone that he was working with.
Which was an unanswered question. A lot of people were upset in The Last Jedi because Snoke just abruptly died, and everybody's like, that was one of those what the fuck moments.
Yeah, you didn't know who Snoke was.
Yeah, who the hell is this guy that has apparently been running the show this entire time?
And I thought it was such a cool thing. He was a puppet of Palpatine. And then the puppet of Palpatine made the First Order.
Right.
Order 66, their First Order. And then the Sith fleet was the final order. And it tied everything together, and it really made this huge thing of Palpatine playing this really long chess game in order to try to get a Sith empire.
Yeah, well, and I think they did really well with him in the film. Yeah. I mean, for the most part of it, he's got he's strapped that machine, obviously some sort of life support or what have you,
right?
And you get this kind of shadowing over his face where you're not seeing him like you did in, say, the Return of the Jedi, or even in Episode 3 or what have you. Yeah. I mean, it's sinister. Yeah. It's dark. He doesn't belong. Why are you here?
Yeah.
And then at the end, when he gains his power back, that's when he busts out in a straight up Darth Sidious.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, he's just this kind of old and broken and beat up thing, and then all of a sudden he gets his power back, and it's like, there's the goddamn Emperor.
There's Emperor Palpatine.
Yeah, I mean, it was wonderful, man.
It was. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was such a great thing to make him the final bad guy.
Right. Well, and truth be told, if they had made it to where Snoke was the big baddie, you know, he was it. After what they did in The Last Jedi, say if they hadn't have killed him, they still only had one more film to really explore his story. And I would have been more upset if they had abruptly done that.
Yeah.
You know, just kind of fast-paced that story and not really gave any back into it, you know?
Yeah. And then it almost makes like the big bad guy kind of nebulous, because then it's the dark side of the Force instead of one person.
It's that like rule of two thing, just coming back around into fruition every time.
Whereas now, with Palpatine being the big bad guy through all 9 films, like that's your big bad guy for 9 films.
Right.
That's amazing.
He's taken all this time for this end game, because as intelligent as Palpatine is, you got to think. Now, granted, you know, some of the stuff maybe he didn't entirely expect, but this was his end game.
Yeah.
This was his goal.
Oh yeah.
I mean, this was it. That Starfleet.
That was terrifying.
That final order Starfleet was the scariest fucking thing I've ever seen.
Star Destroyers with planet-destroying weapons on them is a terrifying concept.
Right. I mean, you know, he had the first Death Star. Yeah, okay, he blew up a planet. What the fuck ever. Yeah. We took care of that.
It takes 10 years to move it.
Yeah, 10 years. Like, Jesus Christ, what are you really going to hurt? Yeah. You know, and then he started the next one. They started building it faster. Well, yeah, obviously, you get better with practice and things like that, but it never got quite finished.
Yeah.
No. This was all models building up to this right here.
Yeah.
This is what he was wanting.
That was the end game.
And it was amazing.
It was.
It was amazing. How about that Sith planet?
Oh, yeah, dude. Exegol?
Exegol, yeah. Dude.
You like how I pull that out?
Yeah, that was good. I like that. Yeah. I'll catch shit about that later.
Yeah, no, that was cool. It was very Sith-like. There was another in the old Legends canon. The Sith home planet had another name, but they actually took a lot of what the architecture was in that original Sith planet in the Legends and added that into the film.
Yeah.
So they did that, and then I was watching a few videos on it. The difference was the storms going on. That wasn't in the original Sith planet. And the throne, the Sith throne, was actually modeled after a lot of the same artwork that the guy who worked on the very first Star Wars did for Palpatine's throne. So that Sith throne and Palpatine's throne had that same shape if you go back and watch the films.
I tell you what, let's do something real quick that we actually don't normally do during the podcast. Let's look at some comments real quick in the chat. So Girdler, that's actually an individual that I had talked to about Star Wars before previously. Nice. So he said a lot of scenes involving how Palpatine came back were cut as well. Okay, so then we get some backstory. Okay, so Disney directors apparently felt it didn't serve a purpose. If you already mentioned that, my bad. I just showed up. Nah, you're absolutely good, Girdler. Maverick, hey, bro. Who that? This is my co-host, John, my cousin and good friend, John. He's my co-host on the Enter the Geek Matrix podcast. Welcome to the podcast, Maverick. Jay Girdler, episode 3, when he's using the Force Lightning on Windu, it's clear that he's not using full power so that he can make Anakin make the turn to the dark side fully by saving him. Did not expect Palp to have so much power to just lightning the sky and take out the power and all the shits. Yeah, dude. I mean, he was just...
That was sick.
Which actually, that makes sense thinking back on it now. You could kind of tell that in episode 3, Palpatine was just fooling around with everybody.
Oh, yeah.
He wasn't really going hard, you know. He wasn't going hard in the paint. He was waiting on Anakin. He was trying to bring him in, and he had a plan, and he was making sure that plan was going to come to fruition.
Yeah.
So going back to Exegol, I thought it was awesome how at the end, you know, there's balance back to the Force. The dark side's destroyed, and then the Exegol just clears. Everything clears. It's beautiful skies. It's like a brand new morning.
Yeah.
Morning, you know. It's
birds
just
chirping.
Yeah.
Vivaldi's morning.
It was like amazing, you know. It's kind of, you get that. It's done, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And that was awesome. Now,
and see, but the thing is, and one of the things, so they added something into the Sith lore that I absolutely loved, and one of the things that kind of struck me as to why it was the end of like the dark side is when Palpatine's telling Rey, "Strike me down," and he essentially alludes to the fact that if Rey strikes him down in anger, she'll absorb Palpatine and every Sith Lord before him, because that's how the knowledge goes.
Right. Which goes back to like when he was discussing with Anakin about dark plagueis the wise, and how that was actually his master, and he struck his master down to gain his knowledge and become the Dark Lord of the Sith.
Right.
After that.
It's kind of like Highlander in The Quickening.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was interesting because when Rey finally defeated Palpatine, she defeated it by reflecting his lightning bolts back at him, but she didn't strike him down in anger. And so that Sith line wasn't absorbed, and like that was the end of it.
So essentially she turned his power back against him.
Right, but because he wasn't absorbed, it ended.
Right.
Because now nobody can absorb it.
No, it just disappeared. Yeah. It dissipated into nothingness.
Right.
It was just gone.
Yeah.
So, now, Ben Solo.
Dude.
And by the way, chat, we can now call him Ben Solo.
Yeah.
He is no longer Kylo Ren.
Oh, he's Ben Solo.
Yeah, that has been fucking Solo.
Dude, I called it from Force Awakens. I was talking with a lot of my buddies, and they were hating Kylo Ren. I'm like, yeah, he's a whiny emo guy, but I guarantee you Adam Driver is going to surprise us with what he does with that character. And boom!
Well, and that was something he had said through all the shit that they have caught from the previous two films. You know, everything. He was always very confident in what he was doing. Always. And, you know, he's ex-military, former military.
Yeah, Marine.
I mean, he's not in there fucking off.
No, dude. No.
He knows what he's doing.
He's an amazing actor.
He really is. I mean, there's another film. I haven't gotten the chance to watch it. It just released on Netflix. It's Married or something like
Marriage
that.
Story.
Marriage
Dude,
Story.
I watched it. It's amazing.
Did he do a good job?
Dude, he did a great job.
Yeah, okay. Because I heard it was good. I heard that he did a great. Of course, you know, Scarlett Johansson did a wonderful job.
Oh yeah.
Come on. But I mean, I was curious. I've been meaning to watch it. I was curious to see how he does in other films.
He was really good in it.
Because
I really like him as an actor.
I've thoroughly enjoyed him as Kylo Ren.
Oh yeah.
Now Ben Solo.
Absolutely. But yeah, Ben Solo is probably one of the highlights of this Disney trilogy for me. You know, I always said, as much as the hate as the prequels got, no matter what, we got Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Right.
No matter all the hate the Disney trilogy got, we got the Ben Solo shrug. You know, that... like, that was just such a great scene.
I mean, and I liked it too because you kind of figured he was going to come back around after they fought on the crashed Death Star. You kind of figured, but you still didn't really know.
Yeah.
And him showing up there on Exegol, that was because I don't know about you, but for me, there was a point to where I thought all hope was lost.
Yeah.
I think they did it beautifully because it just looked like Rey she couldn't do it. Mm-hmm. You know, something had to give. She could not get past Palpatine or overcome Palpatine, I should say. And then him just running in there. I mean, you know, and with the blaster at first, that was a classic Skywalker move.
Yeah, no, that was a Solo move, dude. When he shoots the guy, not even
it was a callback to Solo.
Han Solo did that.
But, you know, like Luke with a blaster, he was great with a blaster in A New Hope. And then, you know, even in The Empire Strikes Back, he always carried a blaster and his lightsaber. And that was like, I mean, it was just awesome. But yeah, it was a callback to Han. Yeah. I mean, it was great. Speaking of seeing Han,
dude,
again,
I don't cry during movies but I won't lie. The scene when Han Solo and Ben Solo, like, I shed a tear. A single solitary tear. But yeah, that was a heart touching moment, man. That was good.
It wasn't a lot, but it was enough.
Yeah, it was. I guess father son scenes always get me, but yeah, that was amazing, and I love that throwback to I know what I need to do, but I don't know if I can do it.
Right.
You know, it was really great.
Well, and speaking of the Death Star, how about all the fight scenes in general?
Yeah.
I mean, they were just beautifully done. I was thinking about this actually yesterday. I was thinking about this, and I love The Rise of Skywalker through and through. Still, to this day, one of my favorite fight scenes is Anakin and Obi-Wan on Mustafar.
Oh, yeah.
In Episode 3. The way that was choreographed is done beautifully. What I like about how... And of course, the original trilogy was made before the prequels. But if you look at the fighting style, like of Luke, mm-hmm. you know, in the original trilogy, and then you look at the fighting styles of Ben and Rey, you can really see. Now, granted, you know, there was probably different choreographers as far as making the films.
Right.
taught them what to do. But even just looking in that universe, you can really see the change and progression in the lightsaber style. When Anakin and Obi-Wan fought, they trained at a legitimate Jedi temple.
Yeah.
Under legitimate Jedi masters. They were trained formally, as actual Jedi. Whereas Luke, he had Obi-Wan there for a short time. Yoda was really old when he first started training him. So, and then of course, although it's not canon now, there were the books that told of Luke going and finding other Jedi temples and hideouts and things like that, and reading some of those texts and things and stuff, and learning from that. But you can see just the change in the way combat is done. This film, it's like it took all the good parts of like Episode 3, and then all the good parts of, say, like Luke's fighting style in the original trilogy, and brought it together into one.
Yeah.
It had that kind of almost wild, unplanned movement, but that kind of aggressive flourish that they had in Episode 3. And I thought that was amazing.
Oh, absolutely.
I hope they plan to do that. If not, kudos to them, because it just happened.
Yeah.
And it was just wonderful. I mean, it was amazing.
I thought the fight scene on the destroyed Death Star with the waves crashing out, I thought that was such an awesome scene.
Well, and it added such drama with the waves and everything.
Yeah.
And
it was a mirror of Mustafar too, because when Obi-Wan and Anakin are fighting on Mustafar, they're dealing with the lava going up. But then it's the mirror because now we're dealing with water, but they're still having to deal with the environmental hazards as they're fighting this like epic battle.
Which, again, even Rey, I mean, her fighting there on the Death Star, how aggressive she was getting. And you could tell she was starting to lean kind of towards the dark side and stuff. And that's where a lot of that came from. But it was still awesome because, and that's what I love about Rey's character, is even before she realized that she was a Palpatine, and that dark side was kind of within her. Yeah. She always had that emotion that originally they tried to steer, Padawans away from. She was learning how to harness it, kind of like Luke did in Return of the Jedi. Yeah.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, that story is the same with Anakin, Luke, and now Rey. Through the first two films, they're like dealing with their emotions, and Anakin in the third film succumbs to it. Luke at the end of the film, when he's put Vader down in Return of the Jedi, and he turns to the Emperor and turns his lightsaber off, says, "No, I will not. I'm a Jedi like my father before me." That's the moment when Luke overcomes his emotions and does what he feels right, even if it's at the cost of his own life.
Right.
And then Rey is doing that very same struggle up until the very end.
Speaking of Rey, what do you think of her, not only as a character, but also, too, her being the surviving Jedi at the end of the film?
I liked it. I like her as a character. She's, she comes from, essentially she believes she comes from nothing. She's struggling with all these emotions, all these facts.
She has that underdog factor for the longest
part. She really does. And everybody loves an underdog.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think she was really well played out. She very much mirrored a lot of the same struggles that Anakin and Luke went with, and she conveyed those a lot. And I did love, like, especially in Rise of the Skywalker, you started to see that like aggression come out in her and her emotions getting the better of her, and then at the end she overcomes them as well and is able to become I am all the Jedi.
Right.
So I liked her as a character, and I loved the ending. Her being the remaining Jedi and her taking the name Skywalker.
Well, and that I am all the Jedi, that was iconic.
Yeah,
I mean that's gonna go down in history when you're on Facebook scrolling, because these always catch me on Facebook when it's like top 15, top 20, blah blah blah, especially the anime ones.
Yeah.
That's gonna be one of those things. I can guarantee down the road, top 20 quotes of so and so films, and it's gonna be Rey. Oh, yeah. I am all the Jedi.
Yep.
I mean, it was amazing. I love the fact that she took the Skywalker name at the very end.
Yeah, I loved that.
I thought that was great. And actually, since we've touched base on that, I kind of wanted to ask you this. What do you think the rise of Skywalker meant?
So, I think... Okay, so...
I think it could go two different ways. Or two ways at the same time.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
What I think is, and we have to go to the very end for me to preface this. So at the end of the movie, she takes Luke's and Leia's lightsabers, wraps them up, and buries them, and she has her own lightsaber, and this lightsaber is yellow, which is not one we've seen in the films before. Not
except
in the
for
Skywalker
Plo
films.
Koon.
Yeah.
Plo Koon was the only one you did see in the films that had a yellow lightsaber.
Right, but we haven't seen him in the. Oh yeah, no, he was in the original. Yeah, but so it's not very common. And then now the new game Fallen Order, the Jedi Temple Guardians have yellow lightsabers. But then she lets someone know that she is Rey Skywalker. What I think Rise of Skywalker means is Rey. I don't think Rey is going to seclude herself on Tatooine for the rest of her life. She's not in exile, but I think she needs to figure out what she's doing. And eventually, she may come up with some new interpretation of the Force that isn't Jedi or Sith, that is balanced.
More of solely protectors of the galaxy. Nothing necessarily to do with the light or the dark side. Just good.
Yeah. And I think that's what Rise of Skywalker really means. It's one, Rey rising up to become a Skywalker.
Right.
But two, I think that's what that is. That's the rise of the balance of the Force. Because if you look back and you look at the prophecy of Anakin Skywalker, he will bring balance to the Force. It didn't necessarily say that he himself would, but necessarily he would be the start of it, which he technically was.
Well, and so I agree with that.
Yeah.
Here's that second part I was talking about. Ben Solo.
Yeah.
Him coming back to the light side, helping to defeat Palpatine. And now, granted, he dies. But, and we were talking about this in the car just a little bit ago, it used to be when you would get your kyber crystal, your lightsaber crystal, you had to meditate on it for days, weeks on end to imbue it with the Force, and that's how, you would create your lightsaber.
Right.
So that blue Skywalker lightsaber has been iconic through, well, technically 8 films. Well, no, actually 7, because he kind of had a different one in Episode 2. Remember, it got destroyed in the droid factory. So about 7 films, but that lightsaber has been iconic. And Ben Solo picking it up, using it, I think it's still kind of that Anakin will bring balance to the Force thing because it's his lightsaber.
Yeah.
It was created by him. It's imbued with his essence.
Yeah.
I mean, his essence is in that lightsaber. The Skywalker essence is in that lightsaber. And then you have Ben Solo, a Skywalker, picking it up and helping to defeat the dark side once and for all.
Yeah.
So I feel like the name of the film kind of has a 2-part meaning.
Yeah.
For me, maybe. I mean, of course, we didn't make the damn thing. We could be wrong. But for me, it's obviously Rey choosing the Skywalker name at the end has something to do with it.
Yeah.
That's very clear, because why would that be? Why would it go to cutscene after that if that's you know what I mean? I mean, that's just kind of a big thing.
Yeah.
But I just think it has a lot to do with Ben Solo too. I mean, because again, Rey was kind of struggling there throughout the film. Ben Solo's been struggling throughout the 3 films, and for the first 2, you're kind of like, he's struggling, but he's going to stay on the dark side. You started to feel that way. I mean, because it just wasn't happening. At a certain point, there was no more progression. He was just he was kind of stuck where he was at.
Yeah.
But then it was when he finally turned, and it's like, okay, and he picks up that blue lightsaber. I mean, and that's also, too, back to the shrug.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like he had no idea, man. He was just fighting, and he's like, I guess I am a Skywalker, I mean, it was so awesome, man.
Yeah, I was a huge fan of it, and I did love the way it ended with the binary sunset, the same way that the whole series started.
Oh, huge callback.
Yeah.
Huge callback. That's the most iconic scene in Star Wars.
Yep.
I mean, it has to be, because it's the start. It was the start of everything,
Oh yeah, it was like one of the first times you heard the Force Suite.
Yeah.
The music. The binary sunset on Tatooine with Luke looking out, and it ended with Rey looking out. I thought that was very poetic. I loved it.
Now, what did you think? And actually, it's non-canon now, but in the books and stuff, Leia did take time to go through the Jedi teachings under Luke.
Well, she did in the film too.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So, but of course, we didn't know that up until this film.
Right.
So what I'm saying is, that was canon before Disney took over and everything, and now they've continued to make it canon. I thought that was great.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, she's obviously Force sensitive.
Well, and like in The Last Jedi, her using the Force to bring herself back from outer fucking space.
Yeah.
Back into the ship. I mean, you can't do something like that and not explain, even in the slightest bit, how Leia got that much stronger with the Force.
Well, so now I actually read something. So I think it was Empire Strikes Back, Leia's talking to Luke once they find out they're brother and sister, and she's talking to Luke about what their mother was like. But if you go back and watch the prequels, Padme died giving birth.
Yeah.
So there's no way Leia could have known. But she was so young.
But with the Force,
it was Force memories. And she was so young, she didn't know what it was, so she thought it was actual memories.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah. So she's always been Force sensitive. So I mean, I love it that they put her through Jedi training, both in the books and in the film. I thought it was such a cool thing.
Well, and in the books, correct me if I'm wrong, but and I'm asking this because she had a blue lightsaber. In the books, when they talked about Leia and her Jedi training, she was a little more aggressive as a duelist with a lightsaber, I believe. I
don't know.
But the reason why I bring it up is because when you see the flashback of her and Luke training, Luke's of course got his green lightsaber, and we the green lightsaber is for someone who's more in tune with the Force and the teachings of the Force, the wisdom of the Force,
the academic side of everything.
Yeah, and the blue lightsaber is for people who use their Force power for a more combat and defense of other people based thing. So I thought that was really cool that they gave her a blue lightsaber.
Yeah. No, that was a nice touch, and I hadn't considered that. So I knew Leia had trained whenever Luke started teaching Jedi again. I didn't really follow so much of Leia. I know she kind of still dealt with the whole ambassador thing.
Consuls and Guardians. Yep, that's right, Girdler.
Yeah, but I know her 3 children did go train under Luke Skywalker.
Right.
And then that's a whole arc of its own.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, our youngest child, Anakin Solo, he actually used a purple lightsaber.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he had that dark and light side conflict that Mace Windu is said to have had, which is why he had the purple lightsaber, because it's a mixture of the red and the blue.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I know they're twins, Jason and Jaina. Eventually, Jaina becomes a Jedi, and Jason turns into Darth Caddus, I believe it is.
Yeah. And Anakin Solo is the one who kind of brings balance to the Force through that. So, but yeah, so I love the fact that they made Leia's lightsaber blue. I love the fact they gave Leia a lightsaber.
Yeah,
anyway,
absolutely.
I mean, that fucking thing, it could have been any color.
Oh yeah.
Leia had a lightsaber. I mean, cause it's Princess Leia.
Oh yeah.
You can't be upset by anything they did with her. I think they did a great job with the way they had to piece together footage to do her part in the film.
So yeah, I heard that they pieced together footage from Return of the Jedi, and Billie Lourd, her daughter, played some of it as well.
Really?
Yeah. So that's really cool how they did that. It's kind of in the same vein of how they had Obi-Wan Kenobi, Alec Guinness calling out Rey's name. They took Alec Guinness saying "afraid," and they took a piece of it and stretched it out.
Right. Yeah. It's really amazing how we've advanced, that far technologically to be able to do things like that. Yeah. That way you don't have to kind of fuck it up by using somebody else,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, even the CGI that they used to make Luke look younger during that flashback scene and Leia, I mean, it was great. They did, of course, a lot of that too is not only just the CGI for the characters themselves, it's the lighting and, they're fighting and it's dark, so it kind of...
Yeah, and there was a little bit of a blur because it was supposed to be a memory.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. And actually, speaking of that, younger Luke, and he was laying down on the ground after Leia kind of, forced him down to the ground. The scene with Rey finally, and she gets in the Death Star, and then her dark side self comes out. I love that. I mean, that was just
with the double lightsaber, and the fact it went back and she caught her lightsaber. That was such a cool.
But I love that concept, because not only with Rey, but Luke did it on Dagobah, and it's just having to fight that conflict in order to become the best possible Jedi that you could be.
Well, that's a classic trope, dude. Fighting your inner demons. That goes all the way back. I remember Final Fantasy IV did something like that, where you're the character, you're a Dark Knight, and you have to fight yourself, and then you become a paladin.
Yeah.
That's such a trope that goes all the way back, but it's such a good trope that you have to vanquish your own inner demons so that you can advance to what you're really supposed to become.
Which that can be said in real life. I mean, if you want to become a better... personally, I try and be a better version of myself than the day before every day.
Yeah.
But that's what that takes, is fighting those demons.
Mm-hmm.
To kind of grow. Yeah. That's what growth is. It's overcoming those things. Mm-hmm. And so it was awesome how they could set that up into the films.
Oh yeah.
Because you didn't see that in the prequels, because again they had that massive Jedi temple on Coruscant. And these thousands of years of teachings right there at hand. Yeah. So they didn't necessarily, and plus they plucked them out from as younglings. I mean,
Well, it was very monk-like with the Jedi Order.
Right.
Like you're in there meditating and focusing on just expelling your dark side, whereas Luke and Rey had to straight up face their dark side. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's such a good touch.
Right. And now let me ask you this. Do you think, now I know the Skywalker saga is complete.
Yeah.
That's over and done with. Now, besides some of the other standalone films they talked about doing and some of the things they are working on right now, do you think there's room or a possibility for them to make further films after this last one?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe start a new story. Now, maybe the Skywalker saga's ended. Maybe I believe personally that they've set it up perfectly to maybe not necessarily have Rey in it, or because now it's a Skywalker, not have a Skywalker in it, but maybe give a backstory to what Rey did after this, and then you got this new threat and new Jedi, or not Jedi anymore, whatever the hell they're going to be called now.
Yeah, Force users.
Yeah, Force users. I think not only after this, but these three films, whether you like them or not, are what opened the door for further Star Wars content.
Oh, yeah. I do see them, like, alluding to even if they do films that take place after, I see them alluding to things that, like, had taken place in the Skywalker saga. Mm-hmm. I see, I think one of the biggest pushes now that I've been reading is they're trying to go back to the High Republic days. Yeah. Like the Old Republic, which... Let me tell you something. I've been seeing a meme of Keanu Reeves as Darth Revan.
I've seen that too.
And I'm here for it, man.
Dude, I would love an Old Republic movie. I would love an Old Republic movie.
Keanu Reeves as Darth Revan, one of the only people that ever was a Jedi, a Sith, and then came back as a Jedi, is amazing. Yeah. Like, I would totally watch that. But I do see them alluding to the Skywalker saga. I do see... there were actually a lot of the books that took place after the original trilogy that had some great stories in them.
Oh, absolutely. Kyle Katarn was one of my favorite... He was actually more so a Grey Jedi. Yeah. But one of my favorite characters in the Star Wars universe. I mean, the Jedi Outcast games, Jedi Outcast 2, more so, was a really fun game to play. It was one of my favorite Star Wars games to play. Yeah. I mean, even the multiplayer in it was great because you could pick out of any of the characters, even a stormtrooper, and you could pick a lightsaber, and you could pick any color lightsaber you wanted to use. And then you get into these fairly large multiplayer maps, and you run around against all your buddies. You can put bots in there, and you're having lightsaber battles. That's awesome. And using your force powers. It was one of the better Star Wars games I've played. Yeah. I mean, and Kyle Katarn was just a badass because he had that Han Solo but Jedi do-gooder aspect at the same time. Yeah. I mean, because he was a smuggler. Yeah. Before he got recruited by Luke into the Jedi Order and everything. So he was one of my all-time favorites. He was awesome.
So back in the day, there was a Nintendo 64 game named after a book, Shadow of the Empire.
I remember Shadow of the Empire. Yeah.
Yeah. Dash Rendar.
Yeah, I remember Dash.
and it was basically a more rugged version of Han Solo, and it was a great character. But and that's something else. I don't see them even not being able to do movies that take place at the same time. Look at the Solo film. Yeah, like that was all happening at the same time, and you could totally tell an entire Solo story separate of it. And look at Mandalorian. Mm-hmm. It's taking place in between Return of the Jedi and the Rise of the First Order. Right.
Well, and that's another thing too. When this new trilogy, first started, it opened the door for all that stuff. Oh, yeah. And the stuff they've created so far has been great. I mean, Rogue One, as a film in itself, was good. But that very end, them tying it into A New Hope directly was like a huge, oh my God moment. When you saw Darth Vader there, you were like, what the fuck?
Yeah, then you remember you've seen that scene before.
Yeah. Well, and then them showing Darth Maul again in Solo. Yeah. How can you not touch further on that?
So the thing is, I remember reading somewhere there were actually plans to turn that into a trilogy, but there was just like such this uprising of like Star Wars fans hate and all this stuff that they canceled it. And that's a big problem that Star Wars is dealing with right now, is that there's just so much hate and hate for what's being made, and it's not the way that I would have made it, and all this, that like it's starting to cause cancellations, and it's a fun ride, dude. It's a roller coaster. You're not gonna like every bit of the roller coaster, but you still get on it.
And don't you hate that when the masses have such a fucking impact on things like that?
Yeah.
I mean, and it's not even the masses. It's just a select few people who are so fucking butthurt about things. They get so vocal. Because obviously if you're happy with something, you have nothing to say.
Yeah. I haven't tweeted out anything about Rise of Skywalker because I like it.
Exactly.
I just
As
keep
a matter of
watching
fact, just for the hell of it, after this, I might tweet out, it was the best fucking movie I've ever seen. Just for the hell of it. I mean, because
hashtag Rise of Star Wars.
Yeah, right. The Rise of Star Wars. I mean, but it's because you don't see that. Because when some people are happy about things, they don't have shit to say about it.
Yeah.
Which is and isn't unfortunate, because it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate because if people did, there would probably be a lot less negativity and hate on the internet, But then again, I mean, if you're happy, you're content. You feel no need to say anything about anything.
No.
So, unfortunately, they do kind of have pull, and not only with Star Wars, but you've seen it with tons of other film and television series that were planned or were supposed to happen, and they don't because of too much hate. I mean, look what the hell they did with Sonic the Hedgehog. Now, granted, I'm glad they kind of fixed the animation.
I'm not gonna lie, that's the one instance I actually agree with.
That's the one goodest, but it's a perfect example of how people who had nothing to do with creating the film had such a voice that they changed it.
Well, Jim Carrey even brought that up, that he was concerned about the fact that the fans can have such an impact on the development of a movie.
I mean, just imagine if the internet was around when The Godfather was made.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, you could have ruined something that it has gone down in history. Oh, yeah. You know what I mean? It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, somebody would have had a problem with Citizen Kane.
Right. Fucking Schindler's List. Oh, Forrest Gump's not good enough anymore.
Yeah, right.
What the fuck, man? Well, I'm really glad we got to sit down and talk about this. I know there was a lot of people that wanted this podcast to happen. I wanted it to happen, for one, even before I had gotten any feedback and comments from other people.
Oh, yeah.
Because I just fucking loved that movie.
Dude, it was great. And Kevin Smith pointed out one thing. It's the only Star Wars movie to open with a montage.
Yeah. And
that was the only part of it that I felt was fast, with that montage. But then again, there's not really much more you need to know other than what Kylo was doing.
It kind of... And actually, I meant to mention this earlier. It kind of added that more sinister, dark aspect to the Sith world. Yeah, I mean, he's kind of having bouncing through these things, and it's these ridiculously difficult maneuvers and obstacles he's having to get through. And it kind of added to that sinister feeling.
Well, it was all jump cuts too, so it was very jarring each time you shift a scene. It's an immediate, because most of the time in Star Wars films, if you watch, they'll do transitions. Like they'll do wipes. That's one of the biggest things in Star Wars. Yeah. They'll do a wipe. Whereas that opening montage is just jump cut, jump cut, jump cut, jump cut, and it's very jarring.
But it also kind of throws you right into the film. Yeah. Instead of that kind of slowness that, the iconic Star Wars opening is like, some huge Star Destroyer or something coming in slow, and then you see some other littler ship shooting at it. Like, that's the iconic thing. But like, if you're sitting there, any Star Wars film you watch, you got the script roll right at the beginning, and you got that slow ship coming through. Yeah. You got a good 5 minutes worth of movie where you're just kind of sitting there waiting for the action to happen, which is not a bad thing. Right. I'm not opposed to it, but with this one, they throw you into the shit. Yeah. It's time to go. You're on a roller coaster ride. You got to buckle the fuck up, because shit's about to get deep.
You bought the ticket, take the ride.
Hope you brought your mom with you, because you're about to cry. It's gonna get real. It was great, man.
Oh yeah.
I absolutely loved it. For anyone who watches this, man, if you have not seen the film yet, and you caught the spoilers, and you missed the very beginning of the podcast, I apologize. At this point, it's not my fault. I warned you at the beginning. Yeah. If you don't care about spoilers and you watched anyway, man, thank you for watching. I hope you got some insight in the film, and I hope it helps you to further enjoy it.
Oh, absolutely. You go into it with an open mind, man. It's a ride. Enjoy it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, in general of a film, it's really good.
Right. And that's why I try to avoid spoilers, because I don't want to, even though I believe myself to be resilient enough not to let that affect my opinion, I still don't want to take the chance that it might.
Yeah.
You know? So, if I have nothing else to add on the film, if there was anything else you wanted to...
One more thing.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a lot of questions from what I was reading and stuff like that. Of the whole time in the film, Finn keeps trying to tell Rey something.
Right.
Rey, I have something to tell you, and then he doesn't want to tell her.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a lot of people that don't know what he was trying to tell her.
I did read something about that as well.
Yeah. So I was reading online, and I believe it was J.J. Abrams tweeted out he wanted to tell Rey he's Force sensitive.
That would make sense. I mean, he was great with the lightsaber in The Force Awakens.
Yeah. He fought, TRT-8, whatever the Stormtrooper was?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, yeah, it makes sense.
It absolutely makes sense. I'm sure a lot of people thought it was going to be him telling her that, or wanting to tell her that he loved her or something like that.
Yeah.
But, in The Last Jedi, you had that instance with that other girl. I can't remember her name. I think it started with an M. But they kind of had a little thing. Rose. That's what her name was. Rose.
Kelly Marie Tran, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but the character's name is Rose Tegan.
Okay. Let's see. Girdler said, I saw where someone had said JJ had told them that, but I hadn't seen anything with JJ officially saying it.
Okay, yeah, that might have been what I read.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, and throughout the films, the way Finn has kind of done this thing, you don't get that lucky in combat. Plus, for one, everyone he fought, he was a stormtrooper before.
Yeah.
Let's be real. They're not the greatest in combat.
Phasma was awesome.
Phasma was awesome, but she wasn't your average everyday stormtrooper.
Yeah.
That was Brienne Tarth. Yeah. But so, I mean, that would make sense. But I kind of... Thinking about that, I kind of like the fact that he didn't get to tell her.
Yeah.
Because he kind of would have put more focus on him. Mm-hmm. And people would have been concerned about the fact, well, if he's Force sensitive, where's his story at with this, and blah, 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 as a Jedi or whatever. And it wasn't about that.
Yeah, it's not about him.
No,
it's about the Skywalkers.
Right. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed the podcast. I know I did. I think we're both looking forward to this.
Oh, yeah, I had a blast. This is amazing.
Guys, just a heads up, I know the streams have not been happening these past 2 weeks with New Year's, and then I was actually very sick, and with me, I'm actually about to have to move all this equipment and stuff to a different town for school. We're going to be doing that tomorrow. Regular streams will pick back up on Monday, I believe, Monday or Tuesday. However, podcasts will still be about once a month, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Depending. They will be a little different, though, because I will be moving. Me and John will not be able to be in the same camera while filming the podcast, but we will both be able to be viewed, and we will still be popping out podcasts. It's just going to take some time. I got to get my bearings with where I'm moving to, and things like that, and then we got to figure out the kinks as far as getting it set up to do it, which shouldn't be that big of a deal, not too much of a problem. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed it, man. If you haven't already, be sure to like, subscribe on YouTube, hit that follow button on Twitch. If you want to go the extra mile, hit that subscribe button, man. Link down below on YouTube and Twitch is my Twitter. Be sure to follow me on there. That'll help you keep up to date with not only the stream, but the podcast as well. This podcast will be uploaded onto YouTube sometime tonight. So if you missed it, be sure to go watch it there. I hope y'all have a great evening.
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you. Later, everyone.